Hello little love bugs, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Emily and my goal is to help you thrive in your 9 to 5 and beyond. I've been a career coach and a recruiter for over 7 years. I have a Charting Careers podcast. I'm on all social media platforms and I'm a writer for Canadian Business, focusing on all things professional and personal development. And today I'm going to switch it up a little bit and talk to you about how I grew my career, not as a recruiter and a career coach, but as a content creator with the reach of over 3 million. So I'm going to spill all of my secrets on how I on how I grew my various platforms, how I monetized them, how I balance things. I'm not going to gatekeep. I want to give you all of the information that I wish I had at the start of this journey, because I'm now approaching my 4-year mark on the internet. So I've got my coffee with my vanilla sweetener. You already know the deal. Let's get into it. And if you're looking at this mug and thinking, damn, that's a really cute mug, you're right. It's a part of my merch line. The link is in my description. The most popular question is, how did I start on social media and what made me start? Most people have the misconception that I started online on TikTok or Instagram, but my podcast was actually the first thing that I did post on. And I didn't really start posting on the internet with the intention of growing. My intention was not to be a content creator. I actually thought I would be a horrible influencer or content creator because I'm really sensitive. Bad comments get to me. I'm not the kind of person who can brush that stuff off. I am now, but I definitely wasn't a few years ago. But at the start of 2020, right before the pandemic, I had recently switched jobs and I was still working in recruiting, and I was noticing that students were failing their interviews at a rate I just could not comprehend. And they were brilliant students. I knew they knew how to do the stuff they needed on the job, but when it came to answering basic interview questions, they just were not getting there. And they kept failing the interviews because of that, which ultimately gave me more work, and it was frustrating for me to see them not being set up for success. So I thought the easiest way to combat this would be to record a prep session. That's what I called it. And I would send it out to all of the students in advance of their interviews. It covered things like how to dress for an interview, how to answer the commonly asked questions, all of these little things that really nobody teaches us unless we have access to career coaches, which also means we have to have access to Ivy League schools for the rest of our lives. And that's just not the reality for most of us, myself included. So I started to record this 1-hour session, sent it out to a couple hundred students to help them out. And the easiest platform to do this on was actually on Spotify, because everything else was the files were too big. It was just too much work. After my podcast started taking off, that's when I really started investing on Instagram. And then a few months later, started investing in TikTok. So in this next section, let's talk about how I actually grew on each of those platforms. Starting off with the podcast, how did I grow my podcast from 0 to several 100,000 listeners? A lot of it came down to consistency. Podcasts and a lot of other social media platforms operate off of something called SEO, which is search engine optimization. It basically means that most of your listeners and your viewers are finding your content because they're searching it up. So you need to make sure that you have certain keywords that will bump your podcast to the top of their Google search when they are looking for things. So I definitely leveraged that. But the biggest thing that I did was kind of 2 parts. The first was I posted very consistently. I've posted every single Sunday for almost 4 years. And if I've taken breaks, they've been scheduled breaks people know about. So making sure that you're really consistent with your content. The next is marketing and advertising. And do not waste your money on paid advertisements. It is, yes, a way you can get your word out there, but the best way to build an authentic viewership who keeps coming back for your content is to have community. Community doesn't mean you need to have 1 million followers. In fact, it's better to have a highly engaged group of people with a smaller follower count than the other way around. So what I started to do to grow my podcast was to invest. A lot of people say that when they grow on social media, it was because of luck, but to be honest, that was not the case for me. I was extremely meticulous and leveraged data and analytics to ensure that I could actually grow. So if you are considering growing on social media, I would highly rely on the data and the insights that these platforms can give you so that you can grow in a time period that is not exhausting and long. One of the most important things to note is that algorithms change all the time. So it's important that you're staying on top of what the most trending content is as far as the algorithm goes. When I first started posting on Instagram, it's right when Instagram Reels came out. So those were the most pushed out things. However, I have seen in 2023 that some of the most popular kind of viral content on Instagram are actually those those carousel posts that people are doing now. Although I personally still gravitate towards video content, I find for my viewership, that's what they enjoy. But what's really important is you're staying on top of what the algorithm is actually pushing. When I decided I was going to start posting on Instagram, I created a strategy as if it were a business plan. And I asked myself, what are the 5 pillars or 5 content topics that I'm actually passionate about? Because I knew if I were walking into this talking about things I didn't care about, I would give up. Because it's a lot of work. Like, it is an insane amount of work. I easily pull 70 to 80 hour work weeks on any given week because of social media. So I had to make sure that I loved it. For me, the core areas of topic I decided to focus on were interview tips, asking for more money, so more of like a salary negotiation, wage gap kind of lens, office fashion, so how do we show up at work, how do we feel great at work, confidence, and dating. And I know that feels really, really broad and really, really diverse, but I wanted to make sure I had the opportunity to switch up my content based on what was and wasn't performing well. But without a doubt, when I first started, I focused on my top 3 areas, which were interviews, salary, and then like the office fashion stuff. So when you do pick a niche, make sure that you are sticking to your niche for the first couple of months so you can understand what your audience does and doesn't like. Because if you're posting a little bit of everything, it's hard to get enough data to understand what your audience is and is not appreciating. I'm not telling you this is what you have to do to grow. This is just what I personally did to grow. I decided to post on Instagram 6 days a week, and I posted an Instagram reel 5 of those days, and then on 1 day a week I would post an Instagram carousel or like a photo. And for each and every one of my Instagram reels, I had a tracker, and I would track what the topic was, so which of those pillars it fit into, how I had my hook, so what was that opening line? Did I start with a question? Did I start with an emotion-based statement? And I would track which of those things performed better or worse. But I would also track things that were kind of not about the topic. I would track how I did my hair. So when I first started posting on social media, when I would post my hair like this, so just my like naturally kind of wavy, kind of frizzy hair, those videos did exponentially better than when I had my hair in a ponytail or had my hair straight and slicked down. So I started to pay attention to that. I also tracked, did I have heavy makeup on or light makeup on? At the time, heavy makeup, the crowd loved it. Then at some point it kind of switched. People preferred the more natural look. So I kept track of literally everything so I could come out with a formula. And within my first couple of weeks of posting, my lowest viewed video was 10,000 views, which for someone who had 200 followers, that was a lot. And by the end of my first month, I was raking in like hundreds of thousands of views on each of my videos. A big part of that is because of the data and tracking, but a huge part of that was consistency. I did not miss a single day of posting on Instagram under any circumstances. So if you're watching this video thinking about how this can apply to you, I'm telling you, keeping meticulous track of the data and how people interact with your content and then adjusting moving forward is the game changer. And as I started to gain more followers, I realized how important it was not only to have lead gen, but lead nurturing. You could tell I'm a sales recruiter, but basically, let me put this coffee down. There are 2 different ways you can create a community that is engaged with your content. One is through lead generation. So that's the kind of content that you make to bring people in, basically to acquire to follow. So for me, that was a really snappy, fun Instagram reel that you watched and you go, okay, this content is high value, let me follow. But what keeps you engaged with my content was my Instagram stories. That is where I made the decision not to post as much about careers and professional development and just to post about me. This is where my like dating content would come in. So I'd say, okay, I'm getting ready to go on a date. What should I wear? It's when I do my makeup, because then it feels like you really know me as a person, and then you're even more likely to engage with my education-based content. So making sure you have a balance of lead generation and lead nurturing. One thing that I made the mistake of doing was starting off with this nurturing style. I would post get ready with me's, and let me tell you, nobody cared because nobody knew me. And I'm not saying that's the case for you, because you need to make content that you enjoy and that you're passionate about. But for me personally, I picked a niche that was education focused, chose to double down on the education, and then slowly expanded to the other stuff. So with all of this tracking, I was able to go from 0 to 100,000 followers on Instagram in 6 months, which is crazy. Once I hit 100,000 followers on Instagram, that's when I realized I needed to get my ass over to TikTok. I was a little bit nervous to go on TikTok because I just didn't get it. I thought it was an app for like young, cool people. And at the time I was 24, which is young. I don't know why I thought I wasn't. Like, I'm 27 and I'm young. Like, whatever. Silly mindset, but that's neither here nor there. So I decided a few months into that to download TikTok. And what was really interesting to me and was my biggest learning is that the content that does well on Instagram is not the same content that does well on TikTok. Instagram's algorithm and audience tends to prefer more of like a curated video. They prefer a concise script. They prefer more professional lighting, more professional looks. They want things to feel a bit more almost like a commercial or TV segment. Where TikTok, in my opinion, the content that performs best is extremely organic, it's unscripted, it might even be a little bit more messy, FaceTime energy. It's a bit more of a casual application. So at first, I was posting the same content on both platforms and that didn't work, which ultimately made me feel really discouraged. But another tip I will give you is the ebbs and flows of your social media growth are going to happen. I used to panic. I would hit months where I would lose 2,000 followers and I was like, what did I do wrong? Nothing. Sometimes people delete the app. Sometimes people no longer connect with your content. Maybe you've switched up your content and they're no longer interested in it. That's fine, because the people who are interested in the content that you love to make will find you and it will balance out. You cannot get so attached to these like small numbers at all, because you will drive yourself crazy. So that was something I kind of had to grapple with. And once I realized that TikTok prefers more of an authentic approach, that's what I took. So on Instagram, I posted once a day and that was really successful for me. Whereas on TikTok, I was posting 3 to 5 times a day, every single day, for 2 years. For some people, growing on social media is just luck. Like, it is just luck. It is the luck of the draw. It is the luck of the algorithm. You might post a shitty little video, it gets 5 million views. Love that for you. The way to actually grow consistently is by keeping track of what your audience genuinely wants and providing authentic value. And that goes across every platform. If you are planning on becoming like a social media star, using trending sounds or like trending viral video formats is not going to be enough. You need to ask yourself, like, what is the unique value that I bring to the table, and what are my audience or what are my viewers walking away from every single time they interact with my content? For me personally, I always think of people as wanting to walk away feeling more confident about their career, more confident about themselves, and just generally like more self-assured. That's my goal when people leave from like watching my videos. If you are making lifestyle content, even Alex Earl, like, she's such a good example. If I were her, I would be thinking, I want my audience to walk away feeling like they're comforted, like they have space on the internet to hang out with a friend, and like they're liberated to go live their 20s. Like, it can be as simple as that. You just need to ask yourself, what are the things my audience needs to feel when they look at my videos? And that's what keeps them coming back over and over again. My growth on TikTok was really slow at first and then really, really quick. It kind of all happened at once. So my first year on TikTok, I went from 0 to about 125,000 followers, which is a lot of people, obviously, and I'm so grateful for it. But after seeing the really quick growth on Instagram, I was so confused as to what I was doing wrong. And I think on TikTok, I actually was overthinking it. Like, I got a little too methodical on what I wanted to post and when, and I wish I would have been a little bit more organic, because that's what the app really favors, and that's what my audience wanted from me on there. Without a doubt, though, the biggest thing and the biggest reason that I have grown is because I've just stayed true to myself and my personal brand and who I am as a person. I am really passionate about the work that I do. I'm not talking about things I don't care about. I genuinely care about the topics that are within my niche of this like careers and personal growth space. So it's easy for me to stay consistent because I'm deeply passionate about it. But I think I would be a really crappy friend if I didn't tell you about some of the things that I wish I knew that were a little bit more challenging than I expected. One of which is virality is a really scary thing. When I had my first video go viral on TikTok, I had anxiety like I had never experienced before. I thought when things went viral, for being as simple as a career tip, like how do you get mad at someone for trying to help you make more money? I would get literal death threats. I would get crazy comments that made me feel so scared and it was just horrible. Like people commenting on my body and it awoke all of these yucky, scary, triggering feelings in me. And I realized that virality is something that's really, really scary. It's exciting, but it also opens these floodgates for people to just like terrorize you on the internet. So if you are seriously considering a career online, be really mindful of how you manage your mental health. because it was an adjustment period for me. I used to stay up at night sobbing. Like, I struggled with an eating disorder for years in like high school and university, and I was in such a good place with it. And then I started posting on the internet, and people are like, oh, she'd be great if she lost 10 pounds. And I'm like, you don't know the weight of the words that you say. Like, that's... Anyways, I would really urge people, if this is the space you want to be in, I love that for you. Be ready for, needing to develop some really thick skin. And it does get better. Like, now, honestly, those things don't impact me at all, because how miserable must you be to talk about my ass on the internet? Girl, bye. But just something to think about. The other is that this misconception that social media is an easy way to make money. Listen, it's not like being a nurse. Being a nurse, there's a lot of jobs harder than being on the internet. But I will say this shit is hard work. I work insane hours. I also still have my 9-to-5 job, and I'll kind of get into that in a second. Actually, screw it. I'll get into it right now. People kind of advertise being a social media creator as being an easy way to make money. And I'm verified on all platforms, which I'm so grateful for, and not the Instagram paid verification, baby. I was verified before that was an option. Like, I am verified on like TikTok and all of these other things. And when I was just a consumer and not a creator, I used to think verification means, oh, this girl's got money, they're paying her. I live in Canada. In Canada, there is no creator fund. So what that means is when I post on TikTok, TikTok is not paying me when I get millions and millions and millions of views. Instagram doesn't pay me when I get millions and millions and millions of views. It doesn't matter. So the main ways that I make money off of social media is through brand sponsorship. So when brands sponsor my YouTube video, or, they have a paid post of mine, things like that. It's also through speaking engagements, which works for me because I make careers and professional development content. So I speak at conferences, I speak at events. I also do one-on-one career coaching, both from a professional development, but also from a social media perspective. And then I'm also a writer. So my writing content generates money through writing for different magazines on the same topics. So those are kind of my core areas of income. But if you are exclusively looking to rely on sponsorships as your core source of income, it's a really dangerous game. And it's not that it's impossible, because so many creators do it. I'm just speaking from my personal experience. My biggest fear would be needing to take brand deals that I don't feel connected to in order to pay the bills, because the bill has to get paid. Like, the bills have to get paid. And maybe you have an advertisement for something you don't feel super passionate about, but you have to take it. And my fear is I would never want to sell something to my audience that I don't genuinely love. But at the same time, what are you going to do? Not pay rent? So it is this very tricky thing. Like, I've had months where I have made amazing money. And then last month, I made $0. And that's coming from someone who has almost 1 million followers cross-platform, because influencer marketing is variable. It is variable based on the economy, the market, what's happening, what's trending. If you had an advertisement for a hamburger company last month, a sandwich company is not going to sponsor you the month following. So there's all of these little things that you don't really know about until you're in it. For example, I have a makeup partnership coming out in a month. I know that no other makeup company is going to touch my content for at least another 5 months. So that does limit your income in some ways. And a lot of people are full-time creators and have businesses built off of that. And I think if you have a business built off of your social media following, that is much more sustainable than just making money off of social media. Oh, and of course, one of my core sources of income is my merch. It's so cute. Make sure you support me. Overall, though, social media has changed my life in ways I can't even imagine. I can be walking down the street to go to the park or taking my dog out for a walk, and I'll run into one of the beautiful people in our community, and they're like, "Are you Emily?" And I'm like, "I am." And it's just this amazing sense of community that I'm so grateful for. And it's also really positively impacted my career. It's given me so much access to opportunity in my 9-to-5 job. And then, of course, just amazing opportunities that I'm so grateful for, and that's because you are here. So first of all, thank you. So if you are considering a career in content, I would really encourage you to be passionate about what your niche is, be data-driven in the work that you do, and just be resilient, because it does take consistency. It does take a lot of work. But definitely let me know if you want content on how I edit my videos, or what my content planning is. So how do I plan out my content future-wise? Anything, if there's anything social media-wise you want information on, let me know, because I love this shit. And to be honest, I taught myself everything. And I'm so proud of the fact that in 3 years, I have hundreds of thousands of followers and a community that is beautiful and opportunities that are exciting. I am so eternally grateful. And if there's anything I can do to share that information with you, I would love to do that. So just let me know, because if it's helpful, great. If it's not, that's fine too. But yeah, that's my social media journey. It's been an insane one. It's one that kind of started by accident, and it's one that I am so passionate about continuing. And I'm excited to see what else we accomplish over the next year. Like, this was just 3 years. Imagine 3 years from now. That's a crazy thought. But thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate you, and I'll see you in my next video.